The reality is you may miss out on a role if you don't come across as genuinely motivated for a position. Now let's talk about job interviews. Motivational questions in an interview are not merely small talk, throwaway questions. They're super critical. Talent is often one of the biggest investments for an organization, and they want to make sure that you are in it for the long term. Your interviewers want to see that you've done your research, that you're genuinely enthused, and that you're not going to be a flight risk in the short term. No one wants to hire a flight risk. It's sunk cost for the company. Welcome to Recruitment Revised with Kim Acosta, the podcast that helps you navigate job searching and hiring with confidence. So beyond qualifications and experience, there is one thing that stands out above all else, and that's motivation. So motivation isn't something that you could fake in an interview. It's evident in your voice, it's evident in your enthusiasm, it's evident in the extent of research that you've done in the company and research into the role. And it's also very evident in the way that you argue your ability to commit to the position if you were successful. So take it from me. When I reflect back on the last role I was unsuccessful with, I think it really did come down to motivation. With this particular role, it was all the way on the other side of Sydney. I would have had to drive 1.5 hours to get to work one way. And also, it required me to be in the office 5 days a week and on site. If I were truly honest with myself, there is no way I could have made that work. Or I could have made it work, but I would have been miserable. It would have been a very heavy load on my husband, who then would have had to do all of the kids' pickups, drop-offs, and I just would have been away from my family quite extensively, and I don't think I would have been very happy about that. I've got children, I've got 2 dogs, I've got a cat, I've got a husband, and all that time away would have made me miserable. It was also during a time where we were coming back to Australia after 2.5 years in Europe, and it really was the wrong role for me. I think I could have done the role, but I think it would have been evident to my interviewers at some point or the other that I wasn't actually truly that motivated for the position. And I was unsuccessful. Before you even go into a job interview, you need to ask yourself, are you truly excited about this role, or are you simply running away? First things first, are there other opportunities within your company internally that you could move into? It'll be a lateral move, but are there lateral moves that could potentially make you more happy and tick all the boxes internally? Or you need to ask yourself, does this new company align with my values? Does it have a positive workplace culture? And do I see myself thriving there in the long term? Another thing you need to consider is, are you financially and emotionally ready for a move? Is this opportunity ticking your boxes in terms of salary, benefits, and job security? Now, I am a recruiter, and it is my role to be able to connect people with new, exciting job opportunities. But I also want to be real. Whenever you jump into a new role, there is often a 6-month probation period, especially here in Australia. This is a time where there is minimal notice required to terminate employment, and it goes both ways. You could leave a company with as little as a 1-week notice period, and they could also let go of you within that same time period. There's always an element of risk when pursuing a new opportunity. And as a candidate, you need to personally weigh up whether the benefits of moving outweigh that risk. Now, when I say you have to consider whether the benefits outweigh the risk, that would include, is the salary right? Is the growth opportunity right? Can I make this opportunity work? Is it going to benefit my family? It's also worth asking whether, is this new company better aligned to my values? Do I see myself thriving in the workplace culture? And let's get really practical. Does this job fit in with my lifestyle, with my personal commitments, with all of my activities surrounding the typical workday. Now, I don't want to turn this section of the podcast into, my views around the work from home debate. I'm actually rather impartial. If companies wish to do a 5-day return to office, that's completely up to them. But what I am seeing is that more and more candidates are really thinking about the practical implications and logistical implications of pursuing a new role. And, it is disproportionately impacting women. I'm seeing a lot of women withdraw out of opportunities that would require them to be in the office 5 days a week. And that's absolutely fine. I mean, you'd rather them be upfront about that rather than getting really deep into the interview process or joining a company and soon leaving because they realize that they can't commit to this type of working arrangement and that it's simply not for them. But it definitely is a major consideration, and you need to be upfront and honest about it, because if you're not willing to commit to what's required of you in the role, it's going to be raised and it's going to be questioned. You're best to be honest upfront. Finally, another thing you really need to keep in mind is whether this opportunity aligns to your long-term career goals. If it doesn't, think twice about pursuing that interview. If it does, really think about how this role is going to be a stepping stone to that longer-term career goal. You need to have a long, hard think about all of these things before going into an interview. I would even argue, have a long, hard think before you even apply to a role. Now, as an experienced recruiter, as an experienced interviewer, and also somebody that spent a lot of time shadowing interviewers, motivation is something that always comes up. And it is always going to be something that teams consider. And it's something that you cannot fake. The reality is you may miss out on a role if you don't come across as genuinely motivated for a position. Now let's talk about job interviews. Motivational questions in an interview are not merely small talk, throwaway questions. They're super critical. Talent is often one of the biggest investments for an organization, and they want to make sure that you are in it for the long term. Your interviewers want to see that you've done your research, that you're genuinely enthused, and that you're not going to be a flight risk in the short term. No one wants to hire a flight risk. It's sunk cost for the company. Now, some common motivational questions. Why this role? Why us as a company? What's attracting you to this position? Why do you wish to join our team? Now, if you're asked any of these questions in an interview, the one response you should never ever say is, well, you approached me, and leave it there. Although that may be true, what also may be true is that the talent acquisition team of that organization actually approached another 50 people just like you through a single LinkedIn campaign. Now's not the time to show your ego. Now is the time to show that you are genuinely enthused and truly motivated about this opportunity. My advice is don't think that you could fake motivation in an interview. You need to be targeted. You need to apply for roles that truly excite you, and you need to apply for roles that truly align to your personal, developmental, and career goals. You need to also be able to show the company that you're there to commit for the long term. If you enjoyed this episode of Recruitment Revised, hit subscribe, give us a like, write us a comment, or share it with a friend that may find it useful. For now, wishing you the very best with your job search and wishing that you ace these motivational questions. See you next time. Bye.